Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So we're getting back in the groove of things. We're going to start doing some more book reviews. I already showed you a 3-part huge book haul, so hopefully there will be plenty of things for me to review in the future. Side note, please disregard the mess behind me. I am still living out of boxes right now. I have not gone out and gotten any bookshelves yet, and so everything that I'm not using is currently in a box. Anything I am currently using is currently in a laundry basket because I don't have a permanent home for it yet. So unfortunately, real life is not always as pretty and organized as the movie and TV life, but that's just real life for you. So sorry, it's just how it is. So the third installment of the Knights Rebels MC series is Desertion. Once again, we have the black and white cover. I have gone on and gushed over the black and white cover of these books twice already. I'm not going to do it again, but as you can tell, it's a very beautiful cover art, and River Savage's name is in yellow for this one. So trigger warnings for this book include gratuitous profanity. There are explicit sexual scenes. There are depictions of domestic abuse. There are depictions of PTSD, and there's definitely references to human trafficking, and there are a few scenes of violence. If any of these are deal breakers for you, or they're just things that kind of kill your vibe when you're reading a romance novel, by all means don't read it. But if these are things that don't bother you, or there's something you can get past, then buckle up, Buttercup, we're going to get into it. If you haven't read Incandescent or Affliction yet, then I do recommend reading those first, just because you're going to have a lot of spoilers in this book for those books if you haven't read them yet. So, this is the story of Jesse Carter and Belle Johnson. You've already met Jesse. He's the Sergeant of Arms of the Knights Rebels, MC. Before he joined the MC, he'd been a firefighter. After 9/11 happened, he enlisted in the military, where he ended up serving a few tours in I think it was Afghanistan. When he got out of the military, he was unable to go back to being a firefighter. This is when he joined the MC, and they basically encouraged him to do volunteer work at the burn unit, which kept him close to his passion for helping people, and within a powerhouse that he was used to, just in a different capacity. Jesse Carter, as you probably already know, having read the previous books, is a very lighthearted, jovial guy. He's very well known for these very corny jokes that are just as likely to make people kind of groan in exasperation as often as they do make you laugh. He's also known as something of a womanizer, and but at heart, he's a very good guy. So, at the end of Affliction, the mayor's son came to a party that the Knights Rebels were throwing at Liquid for Holly, and he ended up holding, I believe it was a broken liquor bottle on Holly, trying to force the MC to tell him where his wife was. And Jesse Carter steps in to save Holly and ended up getting hurt and ended up in the hospital, where he met Belle Johnson, who was his nurse, where he took great pleasure in kind of embarrassing her and getting under her skin, because she's very shy and very quiet. So at the very beginning of this book, just like in previous books, you get hit with a whammy right at the very beginning. We open up to a flashback scene when Jesse was still in the military, and he and his friends in the military, guys from his unit, are out on patrol, and some sort of incendiary device goes off. I think it was a landmine, but I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that. Either way, it was an incendiary device. It did explode, and there was lots of carnage, and it ended up with him holding one of his good friends from his unit, trying to keep him awake while they wait for a medic to come, and his friend's legs have been blown off, and the whole time his friend is basically crying to him, "Just let me die. What kind of life am I going to have with no legs? Just let me die." So it really gets you really quick, and very, very harsh. But that is very common in these books. That's happened in every book up till now. And then it cuts to him waking up, and you realize this is something that had already happened. It's something he suffers tremendous guilt over. You're not entirely sure why. You don't know if the friend survived or if the friend passed. But whatever happened, he's experiencing some extreme guilt. And then it cuts in the next chapter to Belle Johnson, who is out with her friends at Liquid. And Liquid is the club that the MC owns and Jesse Carter runs. So Belle is out with her friends. They've taken her out for her birthday, and they're giving her something of a hard time. They're making all these comments about her having to lie to her mom to be able to go out with them, asking her what lie she told her mom this time. And you're kind of wondering, why are they giving her this hard time? Why is this a problem? Why is she living at home? Why is she having what seemingly a curfew? And this is an important scene because this is when you learn that something like 6 or 7 years before, Belle's older sister Paige had gone missing one night when she was walking home. I can't remember if she was walking home from work or if she was walking home from seeing her boyfriend, but she just disappeared. Now, this is a girl who was very well adjusted. She was in a functional relationship with her boyfriend. She had a functional home life. She was going to college to be a nurse. There is no logical reason for why she would want to run away. So the theories that developed were that she had been abducted. But in the last 6 or 7 years, there hasn't been any breaks on the case, and the case turned cold. And Belle's mother essentially kind of shut down in a way. She became very overprotective of her other 2 daughters, Belle and Belle's younger sister, Ava. She's terrified that her other 2 daughters are going to be abducted. And Belle, being a very kind, sweethearted, kind of overly giving person, kind of derailed her own life so that she could be home and make sure her mother was okay. When she went to college, from what I understand, she lived at home. She's an adult. She's in her mid-20s. She works as a nurse at the hospital. She can live her own life. She could live on her own. But she lives at home, and basically if she's not at work, then she's at home. If she's not at home, then she's at work. And if she happens to have a day with her friends, then she basically goes out of her way to make sure her mother knows where she is. If she's ever more than like 15 or 20 minutes late home, her mother is on the border of hysterics. So there's a lot going on in Belle's life, and it's some very heavy things, obviously. And of course, because it's the club that Jesse Carter runs, he sees her, comes up to her table, and starts chatting with her and her friends, and proceeds to take great pleasure in making her uncomfortable as all heck, making it very well known to her and everybody at their table that he is very interested in having her as a notch on his bedpost. But he's also self-aware enough to realize that that probably won't happen. So in the meantime, he is just taking great pleasure in making her as uncomfortable as possible, to the point where she stands up and basically leaves the table and goes outside for fresh air. And at the end, the scene ends with Jesse leaving with another woman. Now, her friends point out to her that, he's in the Knights Rebels MC. There are stories going around that they help people. Maybe you can talk to the guys at the MC and see if they'd be willing to help you, since you had been his nurse, and there's a little bit of a relationship there, so to speak. So Belle allows her friends to gussy her up for the next Knights Rebels MC party at the clubhouse. One of their friends happens to be dating Hunter, who you've seen in previous stories, and agrees to get them in. She goes, after her friends have given her a makeover. She is wearing an outfit that is considerably shorter than she would normally wear, wearing more makeup than she would normally wear, and generally feels extremely uncomfortable. And when Jesse gets there, he has just gotten off of physical therapy for his leg, and he's in extreme pain. So he ends up taking more than the recommended dosage of his pain medication, and then proceeds to wash it down with copious amounts of hard liquor. And anyone who's familiar with the history of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton knows that that is not a good combination in any way. So Belle starts to talk to Jesse. Jesse does not recognize Belle, partly because of how she is dressed and partly because his vision is very blurry and he's not all there because of the pain medication and alcohol. They end up back in Jesse's room, and while they do not necessarily have relations with each other, it is not exactly a PG-13 scene, and it ends with Jesse passing out. A few hours later, he wakes up, realizes that his lay for the night is still there, and starts telling her she needs to leave. And then when she accidentally knocks over a lamp because she's completely embarrassed, he thinks that she's having a tantrum and being clingy and basically yells at her to leave. So she runs out, completely mortified, runs into Holly, and then leaves. Next day, Holly starts giving Jesse a very hard time about the fact that you had Belle in your room last night. And he's like, no, I didn't. She's like, yeah, you did. I saw her. He's like, I am pretty sure I would know if I had Nurse Belle in my bed last night. And then some of the memories start to come back and he realizes, holy crap, it was Belle. So he goes to her work, kind of corners her, and proceeds to ask her why she was there, thinking she was curious about a possible fling with him. And then he is completely surprised and blindsided when she tells him the story of her sister Paige asking him for help. Now, Jesse's a little conflicted about this because in order for anything to happen, he has to reach out to his brother, who was a detective with the police force. His brother's been pressuring him to go meet with his parents, and there is a lot of tension between Jesse and their father. And so basically he knows he's going to have to give in to some demands from his brother if he does this. But on the other note, he does like helping people. He genuinely does enjoy helping people. It's why he became a firefighter. It's why he joined the military. It is why he went on to work in the burn unit after he got out. And then on the third note, he really, really wants to get Belle in bed, and he's figuring I can use this to get some time with her. Not the most noble of reasons, but there you go. Sorry, allergy season is starting and it's not pretty. But so from there on, the story is they're kind of getting to know each other. Belle is getting to know Jesse because she wants his help finding her sister. He's helping her to find her sister the best he can because he wants to get to know her so that he can get her into bed. There are a lot of issues with this relationship from the very beginning, from the way that it forms to how it forms to the fact that when Belle does realize she's in love with Jesse and tells him, she realizes as soon as she says it that it's a mistake. And Jesse basically proceeds to lecture her about how he may not ever be able to give her everything she wants and needs, and she's too good for him. And for a while they seem to work through it, and then something major happens and they do end up breaking up. Then Holly and Cy end up getting married in Vegas, which Belle is invited to. And of course, by this point, Jesse has dealt with some of his issues, and he's realized he does love Belle. He wants her back, but she's kind of like, no, we've been there. We're not good together. So he sees this as his opportunity to kind of get her back in his life. And of course, I'm not going to spoil the ending as to, do they get together or not. But it is a very good story. And of course it does end with a tie-in to the next story. As you know from Affliction, Cy had helped Beau get a woman out of an abusive home. And then it turns out that her husband was in fact the mayor's son, who was the one who came back and tried to hurt Holly to force the MC to tell him where his wife was. Well, at the very end of this story, Mackenzie, which was the wife's name, kind of bursts into the clubhouse, and everybody's like, oh craps, life is about to get really bad right now. So, as for the characters, I love Jesse Carter's character. He is my favorite male character out of the entire MC. He's funny, he's good-natured, he's laid back, he's very chill, and while he does have this aura about him, about him being kind of immature to the point where in one of the novellas, Nix didn't want Jesse to babysit his son, but Jesse was the last option. And Jesse came through. He had plans. We found out plans with Belle in this book. But he came through, and he was there. He was there for Cadence when she had gone through her surgeries with her former fiance before she met Nix. She was there for Holly when she was on the verge of getting hurt. And he was there for everybody to the degree that in this story, when he needed something of an intervention, they were there for him. They did the tough love thing, and they did it very well, I might add. But not one person hesitated to stand up and say, you need to get yourself in order, and we're going to make you do it. Because he displayed that level of loyalty to them, so they're displaying that loyalty to him. Belle Johnson was, as I already stated, she was a very kind, sweet, good-natured girl. She still is. She put her entire life on hold so that her mother could feel safe and secure knowing her daughters were home. Because you figure Belle was still in high school when her sister Paige was abducted. And so really when she meets Jesse, yes, she's gone to college. Yes, she has a job. Yes, she can be a functioning part of society. But emotionally, when it comes to romantic relationships, she's still kind of in the same place she would have been in high school. And she, spoiler alert, was a virgin when she met Jesse. So of course that intimacy and that clinginess that can occur when it's someone's first time did kind of rear up its ugly head when they broke up. But really when they were apart is when you saw the greatest amount of character development. You saw Jesse deal with the fact that deal with the issues that happened when he was overseas, deal with the issues with his parents. You find out his father was extremely abusive. There was a flashback scene, and this is a trigger warning and spoiler alert, but there's a flashback scene to when he was like 4 or 5 years old playing with a toy car. Apparently his father thought he was playing with it too loudly, proceeded to take it from him and hit him upside the head with it, and then proceed to hit his mother and beat her for not keeping him quiet. And that is why he started abusing the painkillers. That's why he started abusing alcohol, and really why he started sleeping with so many women on a night by night basis. And it's also why he never allowed women to stay the night, because another spoiler alert and trigger warning, there was an evening with Belle where he was asleep. He got caught up in one of his dreams, remembering the war, and Belle got hurt. So he really started dealing with his mental and emotional issues when they broke up. And when he was in a place where he was willing to admit that he was wrong, when he was in a place where he was willing to admit that he needed help, was when it dawned on him, holy crap, I really do love Belle. And he started putting in the work, not just for her, but for himself. And then there's a really sweet, touching letter from his father that really helped, but you could feel him start to heal. When they broke up, Belle really started focusing on other things. She had realized earlier that she wanted to work in the natal care unit. She was a general nurse in the hospital. She had assisted in the birth of a baby, and she realized that's what she wanted to do. So she was going back to school to be a nurse for the natal care unit. She moves out with her friend Lizzie because she finally started to realize, I'm not helping my family by pandering to my mom. She started to look around her and realized that by pandering to her mom, she was setting a precedent that her younger sister Ava was going to be expected to fulfill. Ava was 13, 14 years old. She was getting to a point where she wanted to go out with her friends. She wanted to go go to like the junior high dances, but she couldn't because her mom didn't want her to go. And she realized that if she wanted that cycle to break, she had to put the first foot forward and leave. And she did so. So there's really good character development for both of them. And by the end of the story, you know that no matter what happens, whether they get back together or if they stay apart, they're going to be totally okay. They're going to be totally functional, and they will be happy as people. And that's where you want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship where you don't have to be together, and it's not a chore to be together, but you want to be together. That's where you want a relationship to be, I think. So I feel like they were in a much healthier place by the end of the story. I think it was very well done. And I think the lead into the next story was very well done as well. So I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. So it's very rare that I give a 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. There has to be something tremendously phenomenal for me to give a 5. So 4 out of 5 is as high as it usually gets. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope that it helped you make your decision about whether or not you want to read this book. I look forward to talking to you in the next review when we go over book 4 in the Knights Rebels MC series. And y'all have a wonderful day. Take care.